Hey, good morning. We are talking this morning about encouragement. I'm Angela Brown, and I'm here today with Omuugn. And Omuugn wrote The Insights and Wisdom of Omuugn, which is one of two books. And if you haven't picked up your copy already, I strongly encourage you to, for the sheer fact that there are a kabillion ideas in here that will make you a better leader, a better person, and a better parent. And so in this Live with Impact series, we have Omuugn joining us here on Saturday mornings to unpack the messages that will give you hope and will enlighten your life with wisdom and guidance on how to be the best version of you. So please help me welcome Omuugn. How are you today?
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you are here. I know that it's a cold, windy day in many areas. I know it is in mine. And I hope that you're staying nice and toasty warm where you are.
Yeah, it has actually snowed here for the last 2 days, so we're having a little tail end of the winter, I hope.
Mm.
Maybe snow in the mountains would be great, but we're going to get through it. Spring is beginning to bud through, and so it won't be very long.
You know, spring is a happy time of the year, and it gives a lot of encouragement to people that are coming out of a winter of they've been cooped up inside, they haven't been able to get out in their gardens, and it's kind of like the world sends this little message of encouragement, like, "Hello, we're alive again," and the leaves start to bud on the trees, and the little flowers start to kind of pop out of the ground, like, "Hello." So it's kind of an exciting time of the year for many people.
Yeah, it's actually one of the elements of encouragement. Pardon me. Nature itself, sunshine, the natural things that surround us really encourage us. Whenever we see a rainbow or a beautiful cloud, just simple things, it just it's an encouragement in our spiritual reality. And we recognize that there's sort of a divine program that we're in, and someone somewhere, depending on what your belief system is, I guess, loves us and encourages us in all kinds of ways. So being aware of that encourages our spirit.
Well, just like the spring and the sunshine are a way of, I say, God saying hi, like, hi, how you doing? I trip upon things every day that you don't see every day. And so when I'm out and about and I see something really weird or unique, I'm like, whoa, that's God's way of saying like, hey, how you doing? Like I just threw this cool thing at you so that it's not something you see every day. And it just trips me up like, whoa. And then it's just kind of like a little awareness and, that gives me hope. And then I usually stop and I take a picture of it and I post it on social media or something because I collect things that you don't see every day. I'll be out walking and I find like a little tiny, 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 almost like an ornament, little tiny watering can hanging from a tree. And I'm like, whoa, what is that doing there? And it's like the only ornament in the tree and it's just really out of place. And it will just be really a bizarre little thing. And I'm like, huh. And I think of that as God like going, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, kind of an interesting element is that in the book, we touch on all of these different traits and qualities. And we have to be very concise because every trait and every quality could be its own book.
Mm.
And so we don't pretend to be comprehensive in the book, but rather to give you an idea of kind of what to pursue and what questions to ask and how to be more mindful, really, of whatever the topic might be. And so in these podcasts, I guess our intent is to kind of expand on the ideas of the book and to go deeper and give you a little more insight into some of the possibilities of each of the subjects that we talk about. So hopefully we're going to cover some material today that you won't exactly find in the book, but it will add to and amplify that understanding a little bit.
Well, encouragement is an interesting topic, and you added it to the book, and I'm curious to know your take on encouragement. What do you believe about encouragement that is part of every part of our day?
Well, we're in our life, we're surrounded by all kinds of things happening to us all of the time. If you have children, a lot of unexpected things are happening, and training things are happening and teaching things are happening. And if you're in business, good things are happening, or sometimes you have obstacles or setbacks, or just all kinds of variables are happening all of the time. And so encouragement is kind of the act of offering support and praise and a reassurance that will inspire confidence and motivation and perseverance in whatever we're doing. And so we're always looking for those verbal affirmations or gestures of support. Someone saying, man, you did a really super job, or you're doing a super job, and I really appreciate what you're doing. What you're doing is meaningful and it's making our lives better. And that encourages us to keep doing what we're doing and making positive impacts. So one thing we need to understand is that encouragement is a flow of energy in its essence. And whenever we interact with people, there's an exchange of energy. And so encouragement is a positive energy. And we're surrounded in a world of both positive and negative energies. And if you listen to the news or follow what's happening in the world or following the political things, it's easy to become discouraged and distracted. And there's a lot of negative energy that flows through all of those things. It's very seldom that someone will talk about politics and say, hey, I just ran into so-and-so, and they are such a good representative for these people. And they have such a powerful message. The message that we hear is, we're going to make a choice between two people that we don't like, which is the worst choice, and we'll vote for the other one. It's just kind of a bad mindset. And so we need to be aware of the way energy flows and the way we interact with others, and to make certain that the energy that we share is a positive, encouraging energy. Because if we're surrounded by this encouraging energy, it makes everything better. And our ultimate goal is health, happiness, and harmony. And encouragement supports all of that. With our health, people are going on diets or looking at different kinds of diets. Which is the best diet? The keto or the Mediterranean or the paleo or whatever it might be. And so you have to do some experimentation, but every place you look, you want to be encouraged. And when you try a new diet, is this working? And if it's working, it should encourage you. And you say, well, gee, that was really nice. I didn't expect to have this much success so soon, or whatever it might be.
And what I hear you saying is that when you measure your results, you then know if something's working. And I think that's a really big part of encouragement. When you measure the results, then you are aware. And when you are aware, you have choices. And I think the interesting part of encouragement is the opposite, is discouragement. And many of us represent and we recognize the discouragement in our lives and not necessarily pay attention to the encouragement. And so many of us will say, I'm just really discouraged. I'm just really frustrated. And that's what we hang our hat on, not, oh, I have this emotion and this energy that's in my life right now. And what is the opposite of that? Because the opposite, you always say that there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so if we are discouraged and frustrated, what is the opposite of that? And then go looking for that.
Well, yeah, speaking of being discouraged, in our normal way of interacting with each other, a lot of times we have created the habits within ourselves to sort of be negative. Why don't you do this? You could do this better. How long has it been since you've taken the garbage out? We kind of put statements out there that put people on the defense, and they kind of recoil at their interactions with us because it doesn't support them. And so I've never understood depression or discouragement or being lonely, having 19 children and just having busyness going on all of the time. We never had time to be discouraged. we never had time really to be depressed. You had to get on with the next thing to make it work. And so depression is sort of when energy turns inside of you. And instead of being a current, a flow of energy that goes through you out into your activities, when you become depressed, you're thinking about yourself and you begin to pity yourself. And energy begins to pool up inside of you, and it doesn't flow like energy is designed to flow. And so it's really hard to be depressed if you're engaged in some really productive activities or interacting with positive people. It's hard to be lonely if you're interacting with people in a positive way and you're getting feedback from people. If you're lonely, you're probably sort of depressed and isolated, and you go into a shell and the world looks gloomy. And all you have to do, like you say, is look for the opposite. What would be the opposite of this? If I'm lonely, what could I do to not be lonely? And there are some people who, for example, might be homeless on the streets, or maybe there are people who are only children who don't have a big family support. Maybe you're an orphan, or you really feel alone. But just to realize that there are groups, there are church groups, there are clubs, there are associations that you can interact with. You can get on the internet now and talk to all kinds of people and get encouragement from all types of people. You don't need to be lonely. You don't need to feel isolated. You just have to reach out and get your energy flowing in a different direction. So, yeah, we need to find a way to make all of our statements positive. Instead of saying, "Aren't you done with the dishes yet?" you can say something like, "Wow, you've really come a long way on the dishes. It looks like you're going to be through very soon." Or take every negative thing and turn it into a positive thing.
I'm really
Just
glad that you brought that up for this very reason. Psychology 101 tells us that the behavior we reward is the behavior that's repeated. And so when you come in and you start nagging, why haven't you done the dishes? How come the dishes aren't done yet? And all the things, what happens is you're paying attention to that negative behavior. And when the person that you're talking about, let's say that somebody's discouraged and they feel lonely, what they have to do to get attention from you then is they have to repeat the behavior you paid attention to. And so if you were nagging and you were complaining at an unconscious level, people are like, oh, when I don't do the dishes and I'm really slow with my work, dad's going to come in and he's going to say, hey, why are you not done with the dishes? And I get to interact with dad. So even though it's a negative interaction, people are going, oh, wait a second, that makes a lot of sense. And so then they repeat those behaviors because those are the behaviors we paid attention to. Let me back up a step. When people are sick, we say, oh no, you're so sick. How horrible. I hope you feel better. But we don't say, I hope you feel better when people are well, right? We pay attention to the negative behavior and then it gets repeated and it gets even worse. People get really, really sick and then they go to the hospital and we go, oh no, you're really, really sick. And we pay all this attention to them, but we don't pay any attention to them when they're well. And then if they get really sick, like they almost die, and we go to the hospital, we buy them balloons and flowers and teddy bears, and we send them get well cards, and we send them none of those things when they're well. And so what we tell people at an unconscious level is when you are sick and you are almost dead, then I will pay attention to you. And then we see people that are hypochondriacs. And why? Because they're lonely, because they're trying to catch the attention of their family. And so what happens is they're like, if I want my kids to pay attention to me, all I got to do is like act sick. I got to fake all these illnesses. I got to drop almost dead and go rush to the emergency room at the hospital. And then all my family will come see me. And I think, whoa, that's really twisted. So in my home, we made a new rule. We're not going to pay attention to sickness. If you're sickness, go hop in the bed and recover. When you're well, we're going to take you out to lunch. We're going to set appointments when you're well, and we're going to see you when you're well. We're going to celebrate you when you're well. And you would not believe, and don't tell anybody, but we have hypochondriacs in our family that, lo and behold, are miraculously well when we have scheduled appointments that we're going to come help them out around the house. We are going to meet them for lunch. and they are miraculously well, and they show up, and everything is fine, and no one was the wiser. But we have to train people how to behave around us. And if we're living in a state of discouragement, we can reverse the process by, like what Omuugn said, changing what we pay attention to. And I want to go back to something he just said, which is really important. Instead of saying, why are the dishes not done? I learned this early in my career. Don't use the word why. When you say why, it automatically puts the other person on the defensive. Change the word why to what. So instead of saying, why are the dishes not done? Say what and make a what statement. What do you need help with as far as the dishes go? No, I'm almost done. I got this. And so when you say what questions instead of why questions, now people will come up with answers. And now it's the two of you working together instead of why did you not do this? And they feel on the defensive and like, oh no, you're attacking me. So I love that you brought that up. Both of
Well,
those
there are
things.
a lot of tricky ways that we speak that we're not aware of.
Mm,
For example, the why is a good one, but also, did you? Did
mm,
you take the garbage out? Did
mm,
you do the dishes?
mm.
It puts the other person right on the defensive to begin with. And so we need to become aware of the way we talk to people. And it is so habitual sometimes. We get into habits of saying, did you, or why, or whatever those things are. We need to recognize that those are not a good way to communicate with people. We need to communicate with people in a way that would encourage them and support them and kind of make whatever they're doing fun and exciting.
Mhm.
And if they haven't done something yet, we know they're about to do it because of the way we word our sentences. So we can encourage people. It's really nice. I really appreciate it when you take the garbage out rather than did you take the garbage out?
So in our home, and I'm glad that you brought that up because in our home, my husband was not familiar with the concept of taking out the trash. And so I took out the trash one time and he was there and I handed it to him. And as he took the trash, like, okay, you handed this to me. We both walked out to the curb. And then I turned around and I thanked him. I said, thank you so much for taking the garbage out. And he was like, oh, we talk about rewarding the behavior you want repeated. So then when it came time to take out the trash again, he took out just the one trash and not the recycling. So I took the recycling out, didn't say anything, took the recycling out on the curb, and I thanked him again. Thank you so much for taking out the trash. And he's like, I see two trashes out there. Why I only took out one? And I said, oh, the other one is recycling, and it goes out every other week. He's like, oh, okay. And so then he started collecting the trash, and every week would try to find me to let me know he'd taken out the trash. And I made this huge deal about it. You wouldn't think making a big deal about it to a grown man is a big thing. But then every week he started like tripping over himself to try to remember to take out the trash without being asked or without being nagged. And every week I caught him doing it right, even though he skipped a couple of the trashes in our house. And then one day I said, hey, you're not going to believe this. Check this out. Did you know that in every room of our house, there's a hidden trash can? He's like, no way. So I've been missing some of the trashes. And I'm like, it's a treasure hunt. Check it out. And they started looking underneath the cupboards. Oh, look, there's a hidden trash here. And check it out. There's one over here. I'm like, no way. You found them all. Right. And so it became like a game, but it was that encouragement in a way where we're rewarding that behavior. Now, many years later, he takes the trash out all the time, and I don't have to nag and I don't have to ask. But I still thank him every week for taking out the trash. So people need the regular, ongoing affirmations that they're doing the right things. And so I just want to highlight that because when you say it's the words, choose your words carefully, it's the words that we use. There are people that are doing the same things over and over and over again because, like we said earlier, the behaviors you reward are the behaviors that are repeated. And so if I thank him every week for taking out the trash, guess what? He's going to keep taking out the trash. It's really, really, really a simple process. And I think I learned this from you, Omuugn, because growing up, you would go around the house and you would catch us doing things right, not wrong. And when you catch kids doing things wrong, you just make them feel sad. And when you catch them doing things right, they're like, hey, I did something right. Let me do that again. It's a really great idea.
Yeah, there's a lot to what you're saying. And in addition to that, your tone of voice and your demeanor is also important. If you sound happy, if you sound appreciative, you can say, thanks for taking the trash out.
Mm,
Or you can, like you say, wow, you took the trash out and I so appreciate it. And they need to hear it in your voice. You need to smile. When you smile, you actually raise your vibration. It
mm,
creates a positive energy. So there are a lot of little body things, patting somebody on the back or giving them a knuckle jab or a high five or any interaction like that that's positive is really, really meaningful. So it's just not what you do, but it's how you do it that's really important also. And we're so used to doing whatever it is that we do that we're not aware really of our tone of voice and how we
mhm,
come across to other people. Sometimes we're aware when other people talk to us. We take it negatively because they sound negative, even
mhm,
if they're saying a positive thing.
mhm.
So you need to be aware of your tone of voice and your demeanor and whether you're smiling and whether you're experiencing positive energy yourself. Then you can give that to other people. You can't really give something to somebody else that you don't have. And what you want to have is positive energy.
And I'm glad you brought that up because we teach in our house cleaning training when you walk past a mirror, I want you to stop and look at yourself in the mirror. And I want you to look at the countenance that you see in the mirror. And I want you to give yourself a thumbs up or a high five, or I want you to wave. And I want you to say, I showed up for you today. And the reason I want you to do that is because when you are discouraged, when you are working alone, and house cleaners oftentimes work alone all day, every day, and they're stuck in their own tapes that they're playing in their head. When you walk past a mirror and you see a happy person looking back at you, like, hey, I showed up for you today. You got this. All of a sudden, you can't help but feel like, I got this. Hooray, hooray for me. Okay, yes, it was you just cheering yourself on. But what happened is you saw it coming right back at you in the mirror. And so when we show up that way for other people, we get the same feeling that we get when we give it to ourselves in the mirror. And I want to highlight this for just a second because I've been in anticipation of this particular conversation today. I've been trying a personal experiment in my own life. Okay. I work out at the gym. And as I go to the gym, it's easy to have the gym bag over your shoulder. And, it's early in the morning, you're half asleep, and you walk in and you're just kind of like, moping in there, trying to wake up, and you might see somebody and you kind of do the nod of the head like, how you doing this morning? And I said, what would happen if I open my eyes really wide and I smile as big as I can? It's free, right? It costs me nothing. And instead of just kind of a head nod, what if I raise my hand really high and I wave like, hey, I'm so excited to see you today? So I started doing this. I know it sounds crazy. It's 5 in the morning. Like, who cares? I'm crazy. But I started doing this with every single person I see at the gym. People are like, whoa, she seems really happy to see me. Like, hi back. Okay, now and I'm calling them by name. So I see, I'm like, hey, Omuugn. And you're like, hey. And all of a sudden, now what's happening is everybody is learning everybody's names. And when we show up at the Y, everybody's doing the big wave and the big smile. And they're calling everybody by name. And it's like this really high energy. And somebody said the other day, you've changed this entire YMCA. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, everybody likes everybody now. And they didn't even used to get along. But now everybody likes everybody and they're happy to be here. And I was like, is there anything wrong with that? She said, no, I just noticed that it's really different. And I said, okay. But I mean, like, if I see somebody and I'm in the pool and they're walking out, they'll turn around and they'll make eye contact with me. And then it's a really big wave. And it's like, have a great weekend. And we yell across the pool and you can hear it echo. All right. We got this. It's free. It's absolutely free. It costs none of us anything.
We have to realize that everything we do is contagious,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be a negative contagion or it can be a positive one. What kind of a world would you prefer to live in? A negative one or a positive one? And I think it was Gandhi who said, be the change that you want to experience in the world. And if we do that, let's spread encouragement. Let's spread positive energy. Let's spread the things that we want to be around and live around rather than the negative things. Which brings us to another aspect of encouragement that I would like to emphasize a little bit. every person has their own belief system. And a lot of people have sort of the same belief system in general. But we have a soul inside of us. We're not just a body, a physical thing. We're actually a reality that is expressing itself through our body. And there's a creator and there's a higher intelligence that supports us. And so there's kind of a spiritual reality behind our encouragement. It kind of reflects who we are on the inside, what kind of a person that we are, what we believe in, and what we're trying to project in our reality. And so there is a benevolent higher power that's looking over us, that's encouraging us. Why do you think sunshine uplifts us? Why do you think beautiful clouds and nature uplift us? It's because someone is putting all of those things into our environment and looking after us and encouraging us with beautiful things, with positive things. When we listen, we hear birds singing. When we listen, we hear the wind rustling through the leaves of the trees. There are all kinds of things that encourage us in little subtle ways. And so we're looking at a spiritual dimension that we're building. It's not just a physical habit. It's a reality of who we are on the inside and how we relate to the forces of the universe. And so we want to develop those spiritual qualities. And it's really, really important that we identify them and become aware of them and associate them with the positive energy or the negative energy, and to see whether or not we're in alignment with those universal things. There are universal laws and foundational principles that are moving around us all of the time. We want to be in alignment with those. And so encouragement is one way of doing that. It's a positive energy that helps us to align with the universe itself.
Well, and it's interesting because it's not just something that one day we wake up and we say, oh, hey, there's a higher power and I should probably align myself with it. But we learn from a very young age. When we're born, parents from the very beginning are giving us kudos and they're saying kind things to us and they're giving us words of encouragement. And then as a toddler, we decide we're going to get, I'm independent. I can walk now, and we can't. We get up and we wobble around, and our parents hold out their hands and they're like, come to me, you can do this. And they encourage you, and you get up and you wobble and then you fall down on your face. They're like, it's okay. You can do it. Get up again, try again. And so from a very young age, we're conditioned for encouragement. And then somewhere along the way, I don't know, it seems to drop off a little bit. And I know that you have been a real encourager of your children at all different ages along the way. And I want to ask the question of you specifically. Where did you find the inner strength to come up with encouragement for all of your children at every step of the way? Because many parents will just kind of go from, yes, you can do it, here, I got you, keep coming, to, no, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, discouraging a child instead of encouraging them. And still, even as an adult with adult children, you are encouraging your adult children now to still be the best versions of themselves. Where do you get that?
Well, I think it was an insight that I had early on. Like you were saying, when a child takes that first step, the parents are so excited. They say, hey, come look at this. Look at Johnny, he just took his first step. Come on, you can do it, That kind of excitement really encourages the little person to keep taking steps. And if we could put that excitement into everything that we do, like you say, if you're doing the dishes or eating a meal or going to the gym and interacting with people, excitement is contagious. And that energy, that positive energy, is just a successful thing. And so, yeah, we tried to instill that in the children as they were growing up, that everything they did was important. every lesson that you learn. Learning, going to school and having knowledge pouring in is an exciting thing. If someone says, I don't like math, I hate math, you say, math is fun. Math is fun. And if you understand the principles of math, your life will be a lot easier. And you can do things if you understand math that you couldn't do otherwise. So learn to appreciate math, learn to like math. It's fun the way numbers come together and you can see the relationships and you can make it interesting and you can make it fun. Or if someone has the idea that they don't like math, they can go through their entire life and not like math. And it's just a roadblock, an obstacle that they've created for themselves. And our object in life is to remove obstacles and to be successful in all the things that we do. So we don't ever want to create obstacles for ourselves or for anyone else. We want to remove obstacles. And if we look, we can find a way to do that. No matter what the activity is, I know that publishing books was not my strong point. I've always done a lot of research and a lot of studying and a lot of writing, but the idea that I would actually publish my own books and put them out into the world was never my intent, really. But I've received a lot of encouragement through the years from all of my children and people that I interact with. They'll say, share with us some insight. Now that you're this old, you should have learned something by now. Tell us what that is. And so under that encouragement, and it's a positive encouragement, I've actually started to put my works out into the world where people can see them and enjoy them. And it's only because people have encouraged me and it's been a positive energy. And so I appreciate you and other people that have worked with me because it really does make a big difference in the way I look at life and what I'm trying to accomplish.
Well, what's interesting about you publishing books is not just that somebody encouraged you to publish books, but the works that you have created are encouragements of themselves, like this particular one, which is what we're studying today, the insights and wisdom of Omuugn. And today's section is on encouragement. What this is all about is being the best version of yourself. This book itself, by its very nature, is encouragement to be the best version of yourself. I've got a couple of your other books right here that you've written that are children's books. And The Giant is an encouragement to children that you are okay as you are, accept who you are, and don't not be better, but don't feel bad and feel lousy because you haven't achieved something yet. Accept yourself as you are and that you're in progress and you are in process and you're doing the best you can. Okay. I love that. That's a great encouragement. The other one is anything is possible. You have a child here who has a wild imagination. And in the wild imagination, he can be anything he wants to be, which again is encouragement. So you've got this recurring message that you're saying to people, hey, go be the best version of you. And whatever you are at that stage of the game, be the best version of you. Even if you are a little tiny guy and you want to be a giant, you still have the chance of being the best version of you to someone else. So be that best version. And so everything that you're saying in all the different works that you have created is words of encouragement that you can be a better you. And I love that. I remember when I was young, I forget what it was. I think that it was a United Way campaign. And they had these little tiny buttons, like those buttons you see when it's time to vote. They're like little metallic buttons that you pin on your coat. And I remember you came home one time with a whole bunch of these little buttons and you passed one out to each of us kids. And it said, anything you can do better. And you had us wear them around for several weeks so that every time we saw it on someone else, as we would pass through the house, that we would remember to stop in that moment and what we were doing, we could do better. It was a message of encouragement at a visual level for us as little tiny kids running around going, anything you're doing, you can do better. And it's weird that stuck with me my whole entire life. But as I'm doing something, like today I was out painting my back door and I got done. I'm done. Can you do it any better? And then I start looking at it from every angle. Oh, look, I missed a spot. Yes, I can. I can do it a little bit better. Anything you can do better. So I double checked it. I triple checked it. I'm looking at it from every angle. Did I get it? I got it. I got it. I did my best. And so those words of encouragement have stayed with me. I'm a grown adult and it's carried with me every day of my life.
Well, it's funny, but I don't know that everything you do, you can do better, but most things that we do, we could do better. We could look at it a different way. We could see it from a different angle. We could find a better way to do it, a faster way to do it, a more quality way to do it. We might even involve other people getting it done more quickly. I remember when we live in a small town, and when people would move into the town, one of the projects that we had as a family is we would help people move in. And we found that we could create a chain. And the chain was all of you kids basically in a big line. And we would go up into the moving truck and just start passing things out. And in just a few minutes, we would have the person moved into their new home,
And for
working
those
together.
for those that are not familiar with the chain, if you're watching the replay or you're joining us live here today, the chain is you hand something to the next person and they turn and hand it to the next person and they turn and hand it to the next person, and it becomes just a chain of people doing the same thing, like a domino effect in congruency with each other. And so that's what he's talking about when he says the chain.
And instead of a person walking back and forth, you just hand the thing to the next person. And we had a thing here in town last year where we had to set up chairs in an auditorium. Mm. And people were taking chairs and packing them, and all of my family, we lined up in a big line and we just started to pass the chairs. And other people were fascinated that it would work so efficiently and so quickly. And so they learned a new idea, a new way of doing something better, was to create a chain and get everybody involved in the same motions and the same timing and the same rhythm, that things just went a lot better and people didn't have to walk all the way over and all the way back. And there are a lot of secrets to a chain, like you never stand still. You're always moving to get something or moving to hand something away. Mm-hmm. And so the chain is always moving and it's dynamic and it's fun, it's exciting. And we could move people in just a fraction of the time and they were just amazed. And another little thing, a side note, is that what is that worth? And I realized early on, if I had like 10 people in the chain and people were going to pay us for helping them move in, they would give you $10 and not realize that there were actually 11 or 12 people involved in this project. And so we learned early on not to charge people at all, because they would either feel like they had to pay too much for our help or they wouldn't pay us that would make our time worthwhile doing that thing. So we just made it a policy that we would not charge to help people move in or out. We just showed up as a family, moved them in, moved them out, and said, "Welcome to the neighborhood." And we found a way to do that was a positive energy for them and for us. And we found through the years that we were blessed by doing that, because sometimes we would open our door and there would be a box on our porch full of a turkey and groceries, and people would try to find a way to thank us for helping them. And so it turned out to be a really positive experience for them. And they realized that what we had done for them was a great service. And so it created appreciation in them. And the idea of welcoming them into the neighborhood was positive energy. And they experienced that positive energy. And they wanted to share it, because positive energy is contagious. And once you do that, your life is blessed and things move more smoothly. And it's just really, really a good way to do things.
So what you're sharing with us right now, and I want to highlight this so that it doesn't slip away. What you're sharing with us right now when you're talking about giving of a service, which is your family helping someone else move in, welcoming them to the neighborhood, and then the reciprocity of them wanting to give you groceries or something to say thank you. What you're expressing here without saying the actual words is the law of attraction. And it comes down to the abundances that we have in our lives. We attract more of that. It's that rewarding that behavior that you want repeated. And when you are on a certain vibrational level and it's that contagious energy, you are giving. What happens is people out of reciprocity want to give in return. And sometimes they won't give to you, but they will turn and they will pay it forward to someone else. You have started a chain reaction of this positive energy that then does flow through your life and it flows out. And there are so many instances that I've personally seen firsthand where the family has done, and I'm talking about Omughn's family, which I'm a part of, has done something, and the reciprocity was either directly back to us or it was in turn to someone else. Someone took the goodness that was given to them and they shared it with someone else. And so I know multiple times, and Omuugn is an avid gardener. There is nothing he cannot grow, from lemons that are not even part of his culture where he lives. They're not part of the environment. He can grow lemons in his greenhouses and do all kinds of things that are impossible where he lives as far as growing in his green thumb. But he has given numerous groceries and vegetables out of his garden to other people that they've in turn shared with other people. And it's just been this chain reaction of then people getting zucchinis, for example, and then turning around and making zucchini bread and then giving it to someone else who didn't have anything at all. It's just this chain reaction that's just been amazing to learn and watch.
Yeah, it's fun to interact with people that way. And which brings us, how are the ways in which we can encourage other people? Let's just examine some of those. We should make it a point, an objective every day of our lives, to find ways to compliment people and to give them encouragement to strengthen whatever it is they're doing. We're surrounded by family and neighbors, whoever it might be. I've seen people live in an apartment house. They don't even know who their neighbors are. They're so isolated in their own little world that they're not really interacting with other people very much. We need to go out of our way to interact with the people around us with this positive energy. Find ways to compliment them. Look for ways in which they have strengths and things that they're achieving, and bring that to their attention and say, I can see that you're going to the gym every morning. What a wonderful way to discipline yourself and to make yourself healthy and to feel better. I admire you for doing that. Find people that you can say that to. And like you mentioned, when you do that at the gym, it spreads and other people become aware of that. And you have just made a change in the world. You have brought positive energy.
Speaking of the gym, when I started going to the gym, and I true confession, from the pandemic forward, I didn't go to the gym. I don't want to say I let myself go, but menopause hit, my business took off, things got really busy and complicated, and I stopped going to the gym. So when I decided to start going to the gym again, I was starting from scratch. And I was like, ugh, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm so tired, and I stayed up too late, and I just don't want to get up and go. So what I decided was I needed some encouragement, and it's okay to ask for help. And a lot of us are so independent, we don't ask for help. But how do you ask for help and not sound like you're nagging or whining? That's the trick. So I decided that I was going to ask for help in a way that sounded like encouragement. So check this out. I go to the gym and there are already some women at the Y. They're swimming. So I'm like, oh my goodness, look at you. You got out of a comfortable bed this morning and you came to the Y. You don't know how much that means to me because I needed someone here to encourage me. And they're like, whoa. So then the next morning, the behavior you reward is the behavior that's repeated. So then they trip out of the bed and they're like, oh, we got to show up at the Y because there's this new girl that thinks that we're going to come to support her. So everybody I saw at the gym, I was like, check it out. Here you are today, 3 days in a row. And they're like, yeah, right. 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. Look at you. You're on a roll. Well, one lady says, I never came to the gym before, and I gave it one morning, and that happened to be the morning that you were there, and that you thought that I came every day, and I didn't. That was my first day. And so then I got tricked into coming every day because every day you said you were looking for me. And I said, I know I was. I need your support. And she's like, but I needed your support. And what you didn't know is I wasn't a regular. And now I'm a regular because of you. And I'm like, yes, we're regulars together. And so we've started like this little cheerleading team. And now everybody that comes in, all of us suck them into our little, like, yes, here you are at the gym today. And they're like, whoa, this isn't even my gym. My gym is closed for the day. And we're like, you're coming back. You're one of us now. And so it is encouraging. But what happens is when you bring people into that sphere, there are people that are like, hey, I like it here. I don't want to leave. So it does. It's worth something.
It really is. And let me share an insight with you. A way that I learned this principle. I was being introduced to a relatively famous author one day, and I was in a line of people we were kind of moving through, and he was greeting people, and I was introduced to him, and he reached out to shake my hand, and while he was shaking my hand, he was looking at the next person and talking to them while he was shaking my hand. And I was thinking, I'm really not important to this person at all. He's not going to remember my name because he's not even interacting with me. It's kind of, he's going through the motions, but he's not really present with me. And so I learned that we actually, when we interact with someone, we need to focus on that person. We need to listen to that person. We need to be aware of what their concerns are, what their feelings are, what their challenges are, because it means all the world to them for you to be focused on them. And so a lot of times we just kind of pass by people and say, hi, good morning. I don't want to just say good morning to someone. I want them to feel the good morning that we're having. I want them to know that I am concerned about them personally, that I'm interested in them. I'm interested in their family, what their pet is, and everything about them. If you're going to interact with someone, be 100% focused and active with that person. Don't treat people like you're just brushing by and going on to the next thing. Every person really is important, and we need to listen to them and interact with them in a meaningful way, in an encouraging way, but meaningful. So that's one of the things that we can do.
And if I can tag on to that, eye contact is really important. We live in a world where everybody is glued to their phones. And so while we're having this conversation, people are like scrolling and they're checking their messages, and that doesn't make you feel needed or important. And if you will put your phone down and you will stop looking at it when you're having a conversation with other people, it's disarming. It's really disarming when you're making eye contact and you're having a conversation with someone and they're like, whoa, this person is expecting me to say something important because they're looking at me. And so I encourage you, even if it's just a hello, count to 3 inside your head while you're making eye contact. Make eye contact for 3 seconds. It's really disarming, and people will feel like, you saw me. And if you can leave someone with a silent message, here's the silent message. You are enough and you matter. And you can do that by looking them in the eye and having a little exchange, even if it's just, hello, Omuugn, how are you today? And making that eye contact. People will be like, I was heard for just a second. I was heard.
Yeah, and another thing that you can do also is when you look at other people and see what they're doing, a lot of times you can see from your perspective how they could do it better or more quickly or more efficiently. And so giving people constructive feedback is really important, but to do it in a way that encourages them, not like you're superior or whatever, but you can share with people from your experience in a way that can help them and assist them, make their task a little bit easier. And you want to celebrate their successes, like Pat taking the garbage out. When you were excited about that and you emphasize that, no matter how small the thing is, a baby's first step, it's a really big thing. And so celebrate the successes, even with yourself. There's so many things that you can do. You can share inspirational stories with people. You can share quotes. And I have one daughter who has a Facebook page, and her pages are filled with inspirational quotes. And she encourages people to do better and to reach out further and to go faster and to be happier and all kinds of things. Look for ways to do that. Look for ways that you can share your strengths and abilities with other people that will encourage them and help them. Remind people how valuable they are. When you focus on them, that's one of the ways that you do that. If you're focusing on someone and giving them 100% of your time, a lot of people think that they're kind of special because they can multitask. They can talk with you while they're talking on their phone and doing other things. That is not a good principle. Multitasking is good, but keep it to yourself by all means.
Yeah.
But when you're spending time with people, be 100% there. Don't multitask. Don't multitask with people. There's a way that you can learn someone's name very easily if you decide that you're going to remember names. I don't know how many times I've heard people say, I can't remember people's names, which is a negative statement, and they tell themselves that all of the time. And by George, they can't remember anyone's names.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're aware of negative, well, we call it self-talk, the way you think, the way you interact with yourself, you can be negative with yourself and not realize it. I have this bad habit and I do it over and over and over again. Well, no wonder I have it. I keep doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So,
well, when it comes to remembering names, I was that person. I'm like, I just can't remember names. I mean, it goes in one ear and out the other. I just can't remember names. So I changed the statement to say, I'm getting better at remembering names. And then I added the caveat, and in the process, I might ask you a dozen times, what is your name? People would laugh and go, I'm not very good at remembering names either. And I'm like, all right, so you and me, let's learn each other's names. Get ready, get set, go. And then I'd say, I'm Angela. And they're like, there's this guy at the gym. His name is Melvin, and I've called him Wendell since the day I met him. I don't know why. So I'm like, Wendell, and he's like, Melvin. And I'm like, Angela. He's like, Melvin. I'm like, Angela. Melvin, Angela. So back and forth. And the next time I'm like, Wendell. He's like, Melvin. I'm like, Angela. Okay, so back and forth. And so the other day I started calling him Melvin Wendell. And then he's like, yes, that's it. You're getting closer, But it's okay. It's okay to ask people their names over and over and over again until you get it right. Like a Kathy to me, I got to say, Kathy, how do you spell the Kathy? Is it with a C or a K? In my head, it's two different names. Yes, it's pronounced the same, but Kathy with a C is different than Kathy with a K. And now I see Kathy and I'm like, Kathy with a C, Kathy with a K. And so now I have two friends, both named Kathy. Is that Debbie with an IE or with a Y? So I'm thinking Debbie with an IE. Okay, got it. And so there are little things you can do to hang on to the name so that you can get it right every single time. But I got to go through that in my head. It's Debbie with an IE. It's Kathy with a K. You know what I mean?
And a little secret to that is do it when you first meet people.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear somebody's name and then you interact with them for 2 or 3 months and you still don't really know their name, it's a little more embarrassing than to say, what is your name? Mm-hmm. Because we've been interacting with them for months. So do it on the first day that you meet people. Mm-hmm. Learn their name and go back and forth until you get it right. Don't wait for 2 or 3 months and then say, well, what is your name? Or maybe you don't call them their name anymore. You just say, hey, how you doing? And you don't use their name because you don't know what it is.
So I was at the
So,
gym the other day and there's a sauna and there's a girl in the sauna. Her name is Tutu. And I always say hello to her. And the other day she was in the sauna and I was going to leave. So I wanted to say, hey, have a great weekend. So I opened the door and there's a new girl in there talking to Tutu. So I said, hey, Tutu, have a great weekend. And I turned to the new girl and I said, you're the new girl. And she's like, no, I come here all the time. I just come after you're leaving for the day. And I said, I don't know you. And she said, my name is Destiny. I said, Destiny, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Angela, and this is Tutu. Now, Tutu and Destiny were having a conversation, and it was kind of funny, but I took the opportunity to say, this is Tutu, right? And Destiny said, and I kid you not, I'm so glad you introduced us because Tutu and I have been visiting every day for months, and I know her too well to ask her her name, but I never knew her name until right now. And I said, well, now y'all are best friends. And we just kind of made a joke about it. But I used that as an opportunity because my guess is many of us are in that same situation where we see people for a long time and we don't know their names, whether it's a neighbor or whether it's someone at the grocery store, whether it's someone at the bank, somebody that we interact with on a regular basis. Do you know everybody's names? And chances are you don't. So if you don't, I'm going to use this opportunity today to encourage you that during 2024 that you take the time and the interest to learn someone else's name because it is encouragement to them that they matter. Somebody saw me, somebody made eye contact with me, and I do like this. This means 3 seconds. Somebody made eye contact with me and they learned my name. And I cannot tell you just those simple things. They're absolutely free. They cost you nothing. And it makes a person feel like, guess what? It's that reciprocity. You reached out to me, you saw me, you made me feel like I mattered. They're going to turn around in that contagious sort of way. And they're going to remember other people's names. They're going to make eye contact and they're going to make someone else feel like they mattered in that passive on kind of way. It's that chain reaction. What a great piece of advice, Omuugn. Thank you.
oh yeah, our time is starting to run a little bit short, but there's a concept that is really important that I don't want to miss in this session. And that is we have to learn to encourage ourselves.
Mm.
There has to be something inside of us that makes us want to be better, that want to do things the right way, the better way, the more quality way. We have to learn how to talk to ourselves in our self-talk that is positive and encouraging. We need to learn to find inspiration and something that will make us want to achieve. We mentioned in a previous class that there are A students, there are B students, C students, D students, failures. In every class, in every church, in every club, there are the people who are the prime movers, and there are people who are just riding along for the show. And you want to be one of the prime movers, especially with yourself. Somebody shouldn't have to kick you in the seat of the pants to make you want to do your job better. That should be something that you encourage yourself. And like you say, if you're doing a job, you ask yourself the question, how can I do this better? How can I be more efficient doing this? What is an easier way? How can I impact more people, or however it might be? Be responsible and accountable for yourself to encourage yourself. Do not allow yourself, do not allow yourself to be despondent and discouraged and to feel lonely. You can always do something about those things. So find ways to be the kind of person that you want to be, to live the life that you want to live, to be in the environment that you want to be in. You can do all of those things that you set your mind to. Learn to encourage yourself and to discipline yourself, and you'll just be much happier and your life will be much more successful.
And with the contagiousness of encouragement, once you encourage yourself, you then have enough, it will eke out of you, and you will have enough encouragement that you can turn and encourage those around you. So I love today's message. Thank you so much for spending your time and your energy to not only write the books for us that encourage us and teach us to be the best versions of ourselves, but also to join me on Saturday mornings to unpack these lessons so that we can then take these and understand a little bit more and learn how to apply those in our own personal lives. So, from my heart to yours, I want to say thank you for all of this encouragement.
It's my pleasure. It's been fun.
Alrighty, that's it. And until next time, have a great week and be the best version